The Ran says that this Gemara is talking about a case where the Navi is being sent on a shlichus. That the Nebuah isn't being given to the Navi for his own enlightenment. He's being sent on a shlichus, on a mission. And therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants that the words of the Navi should be well received, and therefore he picks a shliach that everyone will respect. So in as much as there are some people who respect intelligence, he has to be an intelligent person. And there are other people who admire physical strength, he has to be a gibor. Some people admire wealthy people, he has to be an ashir. And some people admire good midas, so he has to be an onav. So this is where all your bases are covered. The Ram is a different shot in the Gemara. This is what the Ram says, that if the Navi is receiving the Nevuah for his own enlightenment, you don't have necessarily all these conditions present. But where the Navi is being sent on a shlichus, he has to appeal to all segments of society. And it's seemingly a shortcoming of human nature. The fact that people are only willing to makabel from people who have these other virtues, other advantages, and they don't look at the words themselves, the actions themselves, for their own intrinsic value. But it's im kol zeh, the words of the chinuch seem very strange. That it's hard to imagine that the halacha should be nikva on the basis of what seemingly is a flaw in human nature. There's a Medrash Rabbah in Parshas Tzav that brings a pasuk in Tehillim. It says, Zivchei Elokim Ruach Nishbara, that the sacrifices of the Ribono Shel Olam are a broken spirit. So the Medrash says as follows, that we see that the HaKadosh Baruch Hu ways aren't like those of a basar v'dam. No, it's a basar v'dam, a human being, it's a humiliation for him to be mishtamesh b'kelim shavurim, to use vessels that are broken. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not that way. As HaKadosh Baruch Hu uses kelim shavurim, as it says, Zivchei Elokim Ruach Nishbara, that the sacrifices of the Ribono Shel Olam are a broken spirit. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu chooses people that are broken. And the Medrash explains, interestingly, that although a shavur, an animal whose limb is broken, is possible for a carbon, yet the person who brings the carbon can be a shavur. Zivchei Elokim Ruach Nishbara. Now it's hard to understand what this means. Because it's true that a person who is broken in spirit can bring a carbon. But the halacha is that a kohen who is physically broken is a Baal Mum. And the Mishnah says in Bechayres that all the mumen that disqualify an animal also disqualify a kohen. The mumen that are listed in this parsha are additional mumen. There are additional mumen which don't disqualify an animal, which disqualify a kohen. But any mum that disqualifies the behemoth also disqualifies a kohen. So if a behemoth which is shavur is possible for a carbon, an adam who is shavur is also possible for a carbon. And in fact, the Zohar HaKadosh in this week's parsha speaks out that it's true, Zivchei Elokim Ruach Nishbara, but the Zohar says beferish, that's only if he's broken in spirit, but if he's physically broken, that's not one of the women. So what is the point of the Medrash? The Medrash is saying that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is different than a basar v'dam. A basar v'dam doesn't use shvurim, Hashem uses kelim shvurim. A behemoth which is shavur is possible, a person whose shavur is kosher. In other words, we're comparing apples and oranges. What is the meaning of this medrash? How can you compare a person's emotional state of mind to his physical form? Now, interestingly, this all has bearing halacha l'maisa. There's a Yam Shel Shlomo in the first parak of Chulin discusses a shaila whether a Baal Mum can be a shliach tzibur. Can a Baal Mum be a chazan? So he brings a tshuva from the Maram. I assume it's from Ram Rutenberg. The Ram Rutenberg, on the basis of this medrash, says that a halacha, that a Baal Mum could be a shliach tzibur. Because it says that a HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mishtamash b'kelim shvurim, zivchei Elokim Ruach Nishbara. So on that basis, the Maram Rutenberg paskins that a shliach tzibur can be a Baal Mum. Says the Yam Shel Shlomo, v'ani amalei dvarav. I will complete his thoughts. I'll bring a second proof to this. There's a Mishnah in Maseches Chulin, Daf Chav Daled, which says like this. It says that hakosher b'kehanim, pasol b'leviim. Ha pasol b'kehanim, kosher Leviim. In other words, there's a psul by Kehanim of Mumin. Mumin disqualify a Kayan. Shanim disqualify a Levi. And the Pasuk says in Parshas Balaischa that if a Levi reaches 50 years old, he becomes pasul. Just on that halacha, just a little background, the Gemara in Chullin says this is only in the Midbar. But in the Beis Eilamim, once the Beis Hamikdash was built, then Shanim don't pass a Levi. Now there's a machlokes between Shanim how to learn pshat in that. Rashi learns because the psul of Shanim is only in avodas masa, is only in the carrying of the kalim of the Mishkan while the Mishkan was being transported. So in the Midbar, where the Leviim carried the Mishkan from place to place, there, if a person was 50, he already was not physically strong enough, he was disqualified. But even in the Midbar, the Leviim who were over 50 were kosher for Shira, for example, to sing in the Mishkan. In the Beis Eilamim, then there was no psul at all, because carrying there wasn't, and for Shir, they're kosher anyway. The Ramban argues in Rashi, and the Ramban says that in the Midbar, since there was avodas masa, there was carrying, so if a Levi was disqualified because of Shanim, he's pasul for everything. So in the Midbar, even a Levi who was over 50 could not perform the Shiva. Since it's a package deal, all or nothing. So since he was disqualified from the avodas masa, he's also disqualified from the Shiva. Whereas once the Beis Hamikdash was built, since there was no transportation anymore, so now all there is avodah shir, that Shanim don't pass. But al kapanim, however we understand, there's a psul of Shanim in the case of Leviim, that Shanim disqualify a Levi. So the Mishnah says that hakosher b'kehanim, kehanim could be over 50. It's possible Leviim. Because Shanim don't disqualify kehanim, but they disqualify Leviim. V'aposol the kehanim, kosher for Leviim. And Mumin, which disqualify kehanim, are kosher for Leviim. So you see from that Mishnah that a Levi who's a Baal Mum is kosher for Shira. Is kosher for Shira. So the Yam Shlomo says, L'chara, if we're discussing a person being a Shliach Tzibur, what should that be more daima to? To the Kayin performing Karbanos, or to the Levi singing Shira? L'chara should be more daima to the Levi singing Shira. So we see that women don't disqualify the Levi from singing Shira, so it shouldn't disqualify a Shliach Tzibur either. So the Yam Shlomo Paskins is the Baal Mum could be a Shliach Tzibur. The Magen Avram in Arachaim Simnum Gimel brings this Yam Shlomo, and he argues. He says, he doesn't bring the whole Yam Shlomo, he brings the first part of the Yam Shlomo, that brings the Maram, based on the Medrash, and the Rambam argues, but we see that a Baal Mum is Pasal Avaida, and therefore who then a Baal Mum is Pasal to be a Shliach Tzibur. And he doesn't even quote the other argument of the Magen Avram from Leviim singing Shira. So you have to understand what are the issues involved over here. Perhaps, on the understanding of the whole halacha of that a Baal Mum is Pasal Avoda and why only by Kehanim, not by Leviim, let me share with you an insight which is, I guess, al pisoid. There's a sefer, Sefer Matzudas David, Tamei HaMitzvahs, from the Red Vaz, al pi Kabbalah. And because I'm not a Mekubal, I'll just read what he says. We'll try to understand it. The fear came. Valderach hasod, in the way of sod, for yadata, you know, ki hakehanim hamachaprim boyim mitzara chesed. That kehanim who affect kapara, who bring atonement through the offering of korbanos, they are rooted in the midah of chesed, midah of kindness. Ki bechesed yichupar oven, because atonement for sin is a function of God's chesed. Midas adin, you've done an adeir and you're finished. Hanefesh chetasi somos. That the Kadosh Baruch Hu offers opportunities to achieve kapara. This is a chesed on the part of the Ribono Shel Olam. So the kehanim, whose avoda is to bring kapara, they are rooted in the midah of chesed. Ulochein tzarech sheyiu rechaik midas adin, and therefore they have to be far removed from the midas adin. V'hamum bo mikayach midas hadin. If a person has a physical blemish, that means he's been I don't want to say the victim, but he's been the recipient of the Midas Hadin. The Midas Hadin demanded that he not be perfect, that he be disfigured in some way. So he's not rachak the Midas Hadin. He's close to the Midas Hadin. V'chein oila mum gematria elokim. That the gematria of the word mum is 86, which is the gematria of the name Elokim. Elokim, of course, is the name of Hashem, which corresponds to Midas Hadin. So mum is a function of Midas Hadin. K'de'isa, as it says in the Pasuk in Shir Hashirim, Kulach yafar rayasi, umum ein bach. What does that mean? Umum ein bach, kalay marsh lo govar oleha midas hadin. That the midas hadin never overcame her. Umimash be'arnu, and according to this hezbollah, that the psul of balmum is because the kayin who's rooted in chesed has to be far from the midas hadin. You'll understand ma tam hamum paisel bekehanam v'leviyim. You'll understand why is it that women only pasel kehanim and not leviyim, and you'll understand that zikna, why age, paisel b'leviyim v'lo b'kehanim. Because this is a well-known thing that although kehanim are rooted in chesed, leviyim are rooted in din. The Zohar Kodesh says this in many places, that the kehanim are rooted in chesed, leviyim are rooted in din. And he says, and that's why zikna passes by leviyim. Ki zikna roimeis bechesed. Because zikna is a remes to chesed. Where do we see that old age is a remes to chesed? It says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu revealed himself in Har Sinai ki zakein malei rachamim, like an old man filled with mercy. So we see that zikna is related to chesed. And therefore, the Leviyim who are rooted in the Midas Hadin can't be older people. They can't be above a certain age, because old age is a remes to chesed. And the Midah of Leviyim is Midas Hadin. And Kehanim, who are rooted in Midas HaChesed, they have to be free of Mumen, because Mumen corresponds to the Midas Hadin. So we understand now why a Baal Mum is possible, and we understand why there's a difference between Kehanim and Leviyim. Let's understand this idea. What does this mean, this idea that Kehanim are rooted in Chesed, Leviyim are rooted in Din? How do we understand that? The truth is that, although this is really based on the Zohar HaKadosh, the Maharal talks about this in many, many places. And one of the places he talks about it is a Rashi in Parsha Shmos. That it says that by the Sneh, when Moshe Rabbeinu finally refused to go, and he told Ribono Shlach na b'atishlach, send someone else. So it says Vayikra af Hashem b'Moshe, that Hashem got angry. Vayomer, and he said, Hello Aaron achicha halevi, behold, there's Aaron, your brother, the Levi. Says he'll be your spokesman. So Rashi says like this. Why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu refer to him as Aaron Achicha HaLevi? So listen what he says. Shaya Osid Lios Levi V'lo Kayin. Originally, Aaron was destined to be a Levi and not a Kayin. V'akuhuna ha'yisi omer lo'atzeis mimcha. And the kahuna should have come from you. So plan A, the original plan was that Moshe should be the Kayin and Aaron should be the Levi. Me'ata lo yiyachayin. Now it won't be so. Elohu yiyakayin v'ata Levi. Right now, he'll be the Kayin and you'll be the Levi. So the consequence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's being angry is that the roles were reversed. It was supposed to be originally that Moshe was the Kayin and Aaron was the Levi. And now it'll be that Aaron is the Kayin and you're the Levi. That's what Rashi says. Now the question is, what's the Midah K'neged Midah? Just because Moshe was reluctant to do the Shlichus, so all of a sudden now the roles are reversed. Moshe gets Aaron's job, Aaron gets Moshe's job. What's going on? So Maharal talks about this in two places. One in the Gur Aryeh here, and the other in Gvuras Hashem Perak Chavches. And he says two very interesting things. He says, first of all, that the reluctance to go on the Shlichus shows that you're more equipped to be a Levi than a Kayin. He says, why? Because this is a mission of mercy. As Moshe Rabbeinu is going to redeem the Bnei Yisrael, is a mission of mercy. The Bnei Yisrael didn't deserve to be redeemed. They didn't have the schuyas to be redeemed. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu in His kindness wants to redeem the Jews. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu was acting b'midas hachesed. Moshe Rabbeinu refuses to be his shliach. So what does that seem to imply? That Moshe Rabbeinu was not a willing agent for the midas hachesed. The Moshe Rabbeinu felt, listen, they don't deserve it. So Moshe Rabbeinu revealed that he has greater leanings to the midas ha-din than to the midas ha-chesed. So therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, okay, if that's the case, then you can't be the Kohen, you can be the Levi. Because the Kohen is rooted in midas ha-chesed, but the Levi is rooted in midas ha-din. So if Taka, by your reluctance to go on the shlichus, you demonstrate that you are closer to the midas ha-din than to the midas ha-chesed, then you lose your job. You're supposed to be a Kohen, instead you'll be a Levi. That's one thing the Maral says in the Gurarye. In the Sefer Gevuras Hashem, he has a second idea. He says that, it says in the Pasuk that in terms of their jobs, V'haya hu yiyeh lecha lefeh, he will be your spokesperson, V'atah tiyeh lo le'elohim. Which Rashi says means you will be the Rav, you will be the Sar, you will be the leader. But we know that that word, Elohim, really relates to Midas Hadin. So therefore, in this new scheme, where Aaron is the spokesperson, but Moshe Rabbeinu is the leader, is the Elohim, that of course is a function of Midas Hadin. And therefore, that's why Moshe Rabbeinu gets the job of Levi and Aaron gets the job of Kohen. Very, very interesting idea, but still it requires a certain amount of understanding. I think the idea is like this. The people that function in the Beis HaMikdash function in two different ways. Now this is the Ribono Shel Olam's house, the Beis HaMikdash. It has to be guarded, it has to be protected, it has to be honored. That's one role that people perform in the Beis HaMikdash. So that's a function of Midas Hadin. Midas Hadin sets limits, it sets boundaries, it sets barriers. This far you can go, beyond this you can't go. Shemira, Hagbala, is always a function of din. Chesed is by its definition expansive. It goes beyond the boundaries. It sees no limits. It does things that are outlandish, outpouring of emotion, love. But din is always something which delineates, sets boundaries, limits, ad kan, and no further. And therefore, those people whose function in the Beis HaMikdash is to maintain the honor of the Mikdash, the covet of the Mikdash, the shmir, the protection of the Mikdash, that's a function of Midas Hadin. The Maral says an amazing thing in the Sefer Netzach Yisrael, Perek Chav Gimel. He says that even Shira is a function of Midas Hadin. The song, the praise of the Ribono Shel Olam, is a function of Midas Hadin. When you think about it, it's 100% correct. Because what does it mean to sing praise to the Ribono Shel Olam, as opposed to making requests of the Ribono Shel Olam? To sing praise to the Ribono Shel Olam is to acknowledge the reality. To describe him as he is to the best of our ability. That's the function of Midas Hadin. To see something as it is, accurately. Not to flatter it. Not to flatter it. Flattery may be a function of Midas HaChesed. But describe something accurately. This is the way it is, exactly. That's a function of Midas Hadin. So says the Maral that the praise of the Ribono Shel Olam is a function of the Midas Hadin. The Maral says, and that's why the Leviim sing Shira. The reason the Leviim were given the job to sing Shira in the Beis HaMikdash is because they are rooted in the Midas Hadin. That's what the Maral says. But that's the role of Leviim. Leviim don't intercede on behalf of the Bnei Yisrael to the Ribono Shel Olam. They are not our shluchim. They are not our agents. They are functionaries of the Mikdash in the sense that they guard it, they protect it, they uphold it, they preserve its dignity, its honor, They sing the praises of the Ribono Shel Olam as He is. This is a function of the Midas HaDin. The role of the Kohanim is very different. The role of the Kohen is to be an intermediary, to intercede in our behalf. Whereas he is there to represent the Bnei Yisrael, to bring the Karbonos of the Bnei Yisrael, to daven for the Bnei Yisrael. When we think of the role of Aaron, it says that Aaron wears the Chayshen, which is the Zikaron of the Shemus of the Bnei Yisrael. And it's interesting, if you go back to that Parsha of Moshe Rabbeinu by the Sneh, so one of the things that Kadosh Baruch Hu says is that Aaron will come to greet you, he'll rejoice in his heart. And Rashi says that's why he was Zoicha to the Chayshen, which is Nasan al Aleiv. Because V'ruacha v'samach b'libo. Because the midah of Aaron is the midah of chesed, love and compassion and concern, and therefore, when he goes into the Mikdash, he wears the Chayshen with the names of the Bnei Yisrael, because his function is to intercede on behalf of the Bnei Yisrael. He represents them, he brings kapara, and that's what the Mitzvah David said, that since the Kohanim are there to intercede on behalf of the Bnei Yisrael, to bring kapara, and kapara is a function of chesed, therefore it's the Kohanim who are rooted in the midah of chesed. So there are two different functions of the people in the Beis HaMikdash. Now the function of the Leviim is not to represent the Bnei Yisrael. They, in a sense, they work for the Beis HaMikdash. They are functionaries of the Mikdash to preserve and protect and defend and maintain its dignity and its kavod, which is a function of the Midas HaDin. So the Kohanim work for the Bnei Yisrael. They intercede on behalf of the Bnei Yisrael. They represent us. And therefore, they have to be rooted in the Midah of Chesed. The Levim are rooted in the Midas HaDin. The truth is, we can understand this now very beautifully. HaKadosh Baruch Hu mitzat atzmai is mishtamish b'kelim shvurim. Now, the Medrash is not correct. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mishtamish b'kelim shvurim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's needs could be addressed even by kelim shvurim. The Leviim who serve the Ribono Shel Olam could be Baalei Mumen too. Even those people who are nifka by the Midas HaDin, they can function as Leviim. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not like a boss of Adam. A boss of Adam, when he has guards in front of his house, you go to Buckingham Palace and you see the guards, everyone is dressed beautifully and so on and so forth. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not that way. He is mishtamish b'kelim shvurim. In other words, what he needs, his interests can be carried out by kelim shvurim. Just like a behemoth could, which is shover is puzzle, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mishtamish b'kelim shvurim. What he needs, his representatives, the people that are working for him in the Beis HaMikdash, could be kelim shvurim, even in a physical sense. Because Leviim, Baalei Mumen are kosher. The reason a Baal Mum Kayin is puzzle is not because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not mishtamish b'kelim shvurim. It's because we can't be mishtamish b'kelim shvurim. Because we need Kohanim who are rachak from the Midas HaDin to intercede on our behalf. Never, that's why the Kohanim can't be Baalei Mumen, because the Kohanim have to work for us. It says we can't have Kohanim that are Baalei Mumen, because the Kohen who's a Baal Mum, who's the recipient of the Midas HaDin, can't be the channel through which will be Moshe Chasadim. So the din that a Baal Mum is puzzle for Kahuna is not because of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's interest. Fakir. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mishtamish b'kelim shvurim. Haraya, the lady is also kosher l'avaydin who's a Baal Mum. Says we can't have Kohanim Baalei Mumen because here the Kohen has to intercede on our behalf. And maybe to fully understand this, we should recall a gewaldige Maimer from Bissol Salanter in the Koch Ve'or. Rabbi Eliezer Breitowitz brings from Bissol Salanter Pshat in the Gemara in Tainus. The Gemara in Tainus says there once was a drought, and Rabbi Eliezer got up to daven, and he davened and said, "Menei tfilas v'lo nen." He wasn't answered. And Rabbi Akiva got up, and Rabbi Akiva said, "Avinu Malkeinu," and the rain fell immediately. So a Baskel came out and said that don't think that Zeh Gadol Mizeh, don't think that Rabbi Akiva is bigger than Rabbi Eliezer. Right? The reason Rabbi Akiva was answered and Rabbi Eliezer wasn't answered is because Zeh Mavra Midaisav, because Rabbi Eliezer was a person who was not, he didn't give in, he was very insistent. And Rabbi Akiva was Mavra Midaisav, he was very flexible, he was willing to be moichel, insults and slights, and that's why his tefillas were answered. So the question is, what's in the Gemara? It says, Lo Nation Zevadol Mizeh, it's not because this one is bigger than that one, but rather it's because, Rabbi Akiva is bigger than Rabbi Eliezer in this one sense. So it is that Rabbi Akiva was bigger than Rabbi Eliezer. Right? Rabbi Eliezer was not Marvel Midaisav, and Rabbi Akiva was Marvel Midaisav. So it's true that this one is bigger than that one. So what's up in the Gemara? Lo Nation Zevadol Mizeh, not because this one is bigger than that one, but because Rabbi Eliezer is not Marvel Midaisav, Rabbi Akiva is Marvel Midaisav. So it comes out that Rabbi Akiva is bigger than Rabbi Eliezer. So Rabbi Sol Salanter, as Mr. Peter reports, Rabbi Sol Salanter says a pshat in this mimer, a very beautiful pshat. It says like this. It says, we know that Hillel and Shammai had very, very different approaches to life. Hillel was a very, very flexible person. He was, not makbid, uncovered. Right? Shammai was a kapton. So the Gemara says, we do the Lashon. It says, Lo'olam yehei adam anvason kehillel. A person should always be humble like Hillel. By the kapton keshamai. And he shouldn't be a kapton like Shammai. So it's hard to understand that the Gemara is being a psak. If Hillel was a shalom and Shammai had a flaw, you need the Gemara to paskin. So you should be like Hillel, not like Shammai. Very perplexing Gemara. So he says, that Rizal says that really the machlekes Hillel and Beis Shammai was a machlekes lahalacha. And the question is that there's an idea of kavod HaTorah. A person who's a Talmid Chacham has to carry himself in a way that brings dignity and respect to Torah. Shammai held that required a certain level of insistence. You can't just speak or act toward a Talmid Chacham in an unbecoming way. And if a person does so, that calls for kavdonos, to uphold the kavod HaTorah. Hillel had a different approach. Hillel held that no, that the kavod HaTorah fakir is mechayev, that a person should be an ambason, he should be humble, he should be forgiving. It's a machlekes lahalacha. It's not that Hillel was perfect and Shammai had a flaw. There's two days. And al pi chachma, Hillel held this is the way to act, Shammai held this is the way to act. Now, in all machlekes Hillel and Shammai, there has to be a hachra, there has to be a psak. So the psak of the Gemara is that la'olam yehei adam ambason kehillel, v'ayei kapton keshammai. Just like in every other machlekes Hillel and Shammai, there's a psak. So in this machlekes, there's also a psak. That's the psak of the Gemara, to follow the approach of Hillel, not the approach of Shammai. But be'emes, in the Shamayim, Shammai will be rewarded for following his way, just as Hillel is rewarded for following his way. Chazal say that also Beis Shammai k'divrayim. Right? The Beis Shammai, they followed their psak. Because even though the bystander, who has no way of being machriya, follows Beis Hillel, there was a baskoil that paskin that way. But the Beis Shammai, they were higiu lahira, they were roy to paskin, and they had the right to paskin for themselves. And therefore, what they did was correct lahalacha for them. What Hillel did was correct lahalacha for them. He says, we don't know, so we have a psak to follow Hillel and not Shammai. But Beis Shammai and Shammai himself, they were justified in following what they held, al pi their shikol hadas, was the correct approach. And therefore in Shamayim, they certainly will be rewarded for following their way. Even though there's a psak not that way, but they have the right to rely on their own judgment. So it says, Rabbi Sosalanter, Rabbi Eliezer was a Talmud of Beis Shammai, Chazal say. Rabbi Akiva was a Talmud of Beis Hillel. And therefore, when Rabbi Eliezer was not Mavra al Midaisav, it wasn't a personality flaw. It was his shita. This is his shita. If Kavod Torah is mechayev not to be Mavra al Midaisav. When Rabbi Akiva was Mavra al Midaisav, that was his shita. He followed the Mahalach of Beis Hillel. So lo mibnei shezeh gadol mizeh. It's not that one was greater than the other. They had two different shitas. And Rabbi Eliezer held this was the correct shita, and Rabbi Akiva held this is the correct shita. So both were equally correct. So why Lamaisa was Rabbi Akiva answered and Rabbi Eliezer not answered? So Rabbi Yisrael here says the point that I want to bring out. He says, all of the Baruch Hu's rewards are Mida K'neged Mida. A person can do one mitzvah and he'll receive one type of reward. He does a different mitzvah, he receives a different type of reward. Because the rewards are always Mida K'neged Mida. So it says Rabbi Yisrael like this, that if you want your tefillas to be answered, what type of mitzvah, Mida K'neged Mida, enables you to merit your tefillas being answered? The mitzvah of being Mavra Midaisav. If you give in, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will also give in. If you're flexible, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will be flexible. If you're the type of person who says, okay, it doesn't have to be exactly my way, I'm open-minded. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu as well will say, listen, it doesn't have to be the way I want, I'll also give in. So the mitzvah of being Mavra Midaisav, Mida K'neged Mida, earns the reward of your tefillas being answered. The mitzvah of not being Mavra Midaisav, if you hold that's the correct psak, is a gewaldige mitzvah. And undoubtedly there'll be tremendous reward for it. The reward will be something else. Not that your tefillas will be answered. Something else will be the reward for that. So Mela, when it came a question, who should the Shliach Tzibur be? So Rabbi Eliezer was not any less than Rabbi Akiva. But the schus that he had, which was that for Kavod Torah he was not Mavra al Midaisav, the schar was undoubtedly something else. But not that his tefillah should be answered. Whereas Rabbi Akiva, not that he was any greater than Rabbi Eliezer, but the particular mitzvah that he did, which was being Mavra al Midaisav, that was a mitzvah for which the Mida K'neged Mida is to be Zoicha, to have your tefillahs answered. And that's why Rabbi Eliezer's tefillahs weren't answered, and Rabbi Akiva's tefillahs were answered. When we compare the Kehanim and the Leviyim, right, and we say that the Kehanim are rooted in the Midah of Chesed, and Leviyim are rooted in the Midah of Sadin. It doesn't mean that Kehanim are bigger than Leviyim, or Leviyim are bigger than Kehanim. They're just different. And it depends what you want to accomplish. So if you want a Shliach Tzibur who will draw Chasadim down, because you need that type of tzaddik who's rooted in the Midah of Chesed. And if you want the type of response that relates to Midas Adin, then you go to a Levi, because he's rooted in Midas Adin. It's not that the Kehanim are bigger than Leviyim or Leviyim are bigger than Kehanim. They're just different. And what you want to accomplish, you have to have an appropriate agent. So Mamela, when it comes to bringing karbonos, being Mamshech Chasadim, that's why you have the Kehanim who are rooted in the Midah of Chesed. The Shmiras HaMikdash, and even the Shira, that's performed by the Leviyim who are in the Beis HaMikdash. So again, that's what the Medrash says. The Medrash says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was mishtamish b'kelim shvurim. In other words, even people that are physically blemished, because the Midas Hadin was pegeya, as the Mesudas David said, that mum is b'gmatri elokim, right? Those are kosher for the avodas Leviyim. It's not only people that are broken in spirit, even people that are physically broken, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is mishtamish with, right? But Kehanim are something else. They're not because HaKadosh Baruch Hu needs kelim shleimim. Because we need kelim shleimim who are rachak from the Midas Hadin to accomplish for us what the Kehanim need to accomplish. So in Mela, this is how the Magen Avram will creep out of the raya of the Yam Shel Shlomo. Yam Shel Shlomo asks the kasha, the l'chayra, if we're discussing whether a shliach tzibur, whether a chazan could be a balmum, so we have a shayla, which way should it be? Should we be medama the balmum to the performing the avodah, or should we be medama the balmum to the Levi singing shira? So the Marshal says that we should be medama the shliach tzibur to the Levi. Shira is more daimer to being a shliach tzibur than bringing karbanos. The Magen will tell you no, the exact opposite, right? Shira is, we said, that's a function of the midas adin, because you're praising HaKadosh Baruch Hu as He is. But the function of a shliach tzibur is not simply to praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The function of the shliach tzibur is to daven on behalf of Klal Yisrael and to intercede on their behalf and be ma'or rachamim. So fakir, that's exactly diamond to the light of the karbanos. Therefore, should be exactly like a kayin. Therefore, balmum should be possible. So perhaps this is a little bit of a understanding on this this parsha of Balei Mum. But it could be that the issue is not so negeya lahalacha b'zman hazeh, because the whole din that a chazan is called a shliach tzibur nowadays is really not so pashut. In times of Chazal, the shliach tzibur actually was motzi people who didn't know how to daven. So mainly he was considered a shliach of the tzibur, to be ma'or rachman for the tzibur. And nowadays, since the general practice is that everyone in the tzibur does daven for himself, so it's true that the kanas chacham of chazaras hashatz is lozos memekayma, but it could be that the shliach tzibur nowadays isn't called so much of a shliach to mevakesh rachmim. And it's tzarachin halacha l'maisa, whether we should go like the Magen Avraham or like the Yam Shlomo in this psak. But in theory, when the chazan was a shliach tzibur, then the Magen Avraham's argument has weight.